DJM TV.
Welcome to our program to focus on Niger Delta. And today's theme is NDDC, Sole Administrator and the Matters Arising. I am Ebio Boko, live from Paramount Voice. It is no news that the central theme for Niger Deltans is the leadership journey of the Niger Delta Development Commission for the past 1 year, starting from the sack of the Commission Acting Managing Director in the person of Joy Nunye on the 19th of February 2020, to the appointment of interim management team led by Professor Dikumo Daniel Ponde, followed by the emergence of Effiong Okon Akwa interim management administration and the current sole administrator subjects, as no doubt raised questions in the minds of all well-meaning Niger Deltans. And Paramount Voice is here with one-time spokesperson and the immediate past president of the Joy Youth Council worldwide, in the person of Barrister Eric Omari, to help enlighten Niger Deltans and Nigeria at large on the leadership dilemma facing the Niger Delta Development Commission.
Thank you so much for having me on your program. I think that the issue of leadership of the NDDC has been a very topical issue under the Buhari administration. But let me quickly say that the controversy did not start with Joy Nunye's sack. When I was the president of the IYC, at the expiration of the tenure of Dan Abia, the former MD of Niger Delta, the Development Commission, the board of the NDDC, a board was appointed by President Buhari with somebody from Akwa Ibom State to complete the tenure of that leadership. And when the tenure ended, we had thought that in line with the NDDC Act, a new board of the NDDC would be appointed, but it was appointed. The board with Okumamba as MD, while the National Assembly had completed the screening process, while they were ready for inauguration. One Joy Nunye, who was supposed to be the commissioner from Rivers State, was appointed as acting managing director under what they refer to as interim management committee. And for some of us, we knew from that moment that something fishy was going on. So as president of IYC, then on behalf of the Joint Youth and of course the Joint Nation, I called for the sack of Akpabio and the immediate appointment of inauguration of the board. I did that at that time because I saw that the intention behind what he was doing was very clear, and the intention was this: he, after becoming Minister of Niger Delta, Minister of Niger Delta, he saw that the NDDC has more money than the Niger Delta Ministry, so he wants to have absolute control of the NDDC, and the only way he can achieve that is to have a sole administrator or an interim management board that he can be given order. Because the difference between having an interim management board or a sole administrator and a board is that the board conduct their activities in accordance with the NDDC Act. And under the NDDC Act, you have a management committee that comprises of the MD, their executive directors. Then you have a board that comprises of the chairman and representative of the 9 states. So there is a procedure for the management of the NDDC when there is a board in place. But when there is no board, as the minister, he can just give unilateral instructions to the sole administrator or the IMC, as the case may be, and they will obey. And Akpabio prefers that sole administratorship because of his selfishness, because of his ultimate ambition to control the NDDC. So at that time, I called for his sack, but a lot of some of our people didn't see the implication of what was coming, and unfortunately, that is where we find ourselves. At the time the IMC was appointed, the excuse he gave was that it was to enable unhindered forensic audit. And some of us said, look, that argument is not tenable. It is not tenable because the NDDC is not the only or the first organization that a forensic audit has been carried out. A forensic audit was carried out in NNPC, if you recall, when former Emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, raised alarm that the then Minister of Petroleum has embezzled some billions of naira. A forensic audit of international accountants was set up to audit the NNPC. The board of the NNPC was not sacked. A forensic audit has been ordered in so many other federal parastatals. Their management committee or board was not sacked. So what is the difference with the NDDC? And let me also make this point. Some of us who have been opposing IMC or sole administratorship in the NDDC are not against forensic audit. We are in total support of the forensic audit. But our argument is that you do not need to kill the to violate the NDDC Act or to appoint a sole administrator in order to carry out a forensic audit. You can have the board of NDDC with the management committee doing their work while forensic auditors are going on. And the fears that we raised at the beginning have come to a reality in that 1 year and 3 months after Akpabio purportedly started a forensic audit, up to this moment, there is no fruit of that forensic audit. He has not been able to tell Niger Deltas how the forensic auditors have gone. And from what some of us are seeing and the way we feel about it, this forensic audit is going to be endless. There will not be end to the forensic audit. It's just a subterfuge to loot the NDDC. And the recent proof of the NDDC by the National Assembly has justified this our position.
Thank you very much, sir. However, just this morning, the news break was that the minister himself, the person of gospel, Akpabio, disclosed that that they will set up a board, as in a substantive board for NDDC, as in they will inaugurate a substantive board by April this year. So, what's your take on that, sir?
Well, I think that first, this is not the first time Akpabio has made that sort of comment, and we have always said that it does not lie in the mouth of Akpabio, or even with respect, President Buhari, to decide when they will obey or comply with the requirement of law. They don't have power for even 1 day to violate the NDDC Act, because under the NDDC Act, there is no room for a sole administrator. So it is either you have a substantive board, or when you don't have a substantive board, the most senior officer in the NDDC, just like when you don't have a minister, the permanent secretary will hold forth. But where you don't have a substantive board in an organization like the NDDC, the most senior officer will hold forth until the board is appointed. But in the instance case, what Akpabio is saying that, oh, by April there will be a substantive board, is unacceptable. It's a continuation of the impunity that we have not known the Buhari administration for. And that impunity is has emboldened people like Akpabio to do whatever he likes. What he has said is unacceptable. He has no option than to immediately inaugurate the board of the NDDC. The excuse of NDDC is going to be inaugurated in April is unacceptable. It's a demonstration of disregard for the rule of law, and all well-meaning Nigerians and those who love the rule of law should reject that assertion.
You said yesterday that the federal government did not appoint a sole administrator. He noted that the government only obeyed a court order, which he said directed the most senior officer in the agency to assume his management. He said that is what they did.
It's not correct. The court order that I am aware of, that I read, is to the effect that the IMC that was set up is illegal, it's unknown to the law. And if the IMC is unknown to the law, it therefore means that the only means through which the NDDC can be governed is the substantive board. Or in other words, the judgment or the ruling of the court, the order the court gave, did not say that don't appoint a board of the NDDC for now. It didn't say so. And so what he ought to do in compliance, if they really want to respect the court order, is to inaugurate the board of the NDDC. That is what the law says. The law, there is no law anywhere which says that you should go. Actually, in any case, is Aqua part of the staff of NDDC? It's not the staff of the NDDC. Mr. Aqua was part and parcel of the interim management committee. He was the head of administration in the interim management committee. So even by that his own argument, Aqua does not satisfy the requirement of being the most senior officer of the NDDC. When they say the most senior officer, means those who are civil servants in the NDDC. Akwa is not a civil servant, it's not the staff of the NDDC. He is an appointee of Akpabio outside the structure or the administrative structure of the NDDC. So he's only looking for excuse to justify his acts of impunity. And I'm very sure this is not the first time we have seen such impunity to come to an end. We experienced it during the very dark days of Abacha administration, and of course even under Buhari, we have had such a lot of such impunity. Everything that has a beginning must have an end.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. And there have been clamor for protests. Some youth are saying they're going to shut down NDDC, and some are saying they should dialogue and division everywhere. Do you think that protest is a solution to this problem?
Protest is a legitimate means of people expressing their dissatisfaction with government policy or decisions everywhere in the world. And the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria gives the right to protest to Nigerians. So if Niger Delta youths have decided to resort to protest to express their dissatisfaction with the illegality going on in NDDC, in my view, they should be commended. Because, mind you, in the past, what this region is known for is resort to violence, militant struggle. But if the present crop of leaders have said, look, we want to use protest as an instrument to express our dissatisfaction, they should be commended. But let me also warn that the experience of militancy in the Niger Delta region reveals that where the people resort to peaceful means and there is no response, there is a propensity for the people to resort to militant dimension to draw the attention of government. So the Buhari government is running a big risk to ignore the consistent peaceful protest of the people of the region, because this protest has been on for more than 1 year. You don't attend to them. When they resort to other means, the people of the region, especially the leaders, should not be blamed for not curtailing their youths.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we're going back to like in July 23rd, 2020, that is last year, the Senate probe of the interim management committee of the NDDC may have come and gone, but the dust raised by that exercise I refused to settle. And this is a result of the stunning revelation made during the probe. And take as an instance, during the probe, the Senate, looking at the anonymity and the anonymity presented by the interim management committee, ordered the probe of Professor Ponde-led administration committee to refund 4.923 billion alleged illegal payment made to staff of the commission and contractors in breach of the procurement process. The upper chamber said that this refund should be made to the account of the NDDC with immediate effect. And also within this period, it was revealed that the commission led by Comrade Moponde as acting managing director used 1.5 billion as COVID-19 palliative to take care of his management and staff. And this happened at about the same time that the disease and hunger were walking freely in the Niger Delta region. And it was also revealed that the NDDC management spent 40 billion in 3 months without due process, and have since inception received from the federal government well over 15 trillion naira. Also, that was also on Tuesday, 14 July 2020, the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation further brought a revelation that the commission illegally spent 81.5 billion between January and July 2020, yet no tangible infrastructure to show for all this thing. And the list is endless. And the probe was going on, but now we've not heard anything about the probe from the upper chamber. And what is your take on this?
Well, firstly, the revelations that came out of the probe has justified the position some of us took, that the appointment of an interim management committee or the so-called forensic audit is only a basis to loot the NDDC. That's the number one point. The second one is that the National Assembly has done their job. The principle of division of governmental responsibilities between the executive and the legislation is that in situations such as this, the legislation will do their public hearing, will submit their report to the executive. To the best of my knowledge, that report has been submitted to the president of this country, President Buhari, but he will not act on it simply because the looting that is going on in NDDC has the backing of the presidency of this country. I say this with all the emphasis because there is nowhere on earth where you have people who will be accused of looting billions of naira. Short, Professor Ponde came out and publicly said that he gave palliative amounting to billions of naira. Firstly, that money was not appropriated for. The principle of constitutional democracy is that you cannot spend any money that is not approved for. There was no money was approved by the National Assembly to be shared to staff of NDDC as palliatives. Yet the president of Nigeria, President Buhari, who claimed or who ascended to the presidency of this country under the guise of fighting corruption, has decided to look the other way. Simply because, see, how these things work is this. If you have a governor who is collecting money from the local government account, a local government chairman will act with impunity because he feels that the governor has collected his own. So, by parity of reasoning, if you have a presidency that is involved in the looting of the NDDC, then whoever is in the NDDC will also act with impunity. That's what is happening. It is simply because those in Abuja has collected their own share of the Nigerian NDDC money. So those in Port Harcourt feel that that is their own share. That is the only reason why you have an NDDC MD, acting MD, come in a national television, tell the entire world that we shared palliative to ourselves. After all, those in Aso Rock has also collected their palliatives. So he has all the rights to share palliative to himself. So that's exactly what is happening. It is very sad and that this is happening to the Niger Delta people. And it's not peculiar to the NDDC, mind you. Even the presidential amnesty program is suffering the same thing. And some of us feel that it is an elongation or an extension of the outcome of the 2015 election. If somebody from a particular region contested election with you and you have won, it's not a basis for you to treat that region like a conquered people. The NDDC and the amnesty program has been treated with all sorts of disdain, unlike similar agencies in other parts of the country. For example, the Northeast Development Commission is working. Nobody is hearing about it. They are not sharing the money belonging to that agency. That agency is collaborating with foreign organizations to develop, and they are doing a lot of things in the Northeast. But in the case of the Niger Delta, with all the outcry, the president does not care because he feels that that's the conquered area. I've won election. I don't care whatever they do. So it is an indictment. The summary of the revelations arising from the Senate group of the NDDC is that it's an indictment on the anti-corruption crusade, all the credentials of the Buhari administration.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. And as a stakeholder and a leader in the Niger Delta region, what is especially the youth and the stakeholders doing to hold these agencies, the Niger Delta, the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, the amnesty program, to hold them accountable?
Well, I think that the protest that you mentioned earlier is part of those things that you can do in a civil society, in a civil democratic system, to hold government accountable. I'm aware that some groups, including some robo youths yesterday, went to court to question the illegality that is going on in the NDDC. You see, there is a limit to which people in the civil society, our members of the public, can hold government accountable. Even if you expose all the misdeeds in government agencies and the man in charge decides to look the other way, your actions cannot come to fruition immediately. But what is important is that those actions are documented for another leadership, because there is any government that has a beginning must have an end. In 2 years and a half, perhaps Buhari government will go. Whoever will come may look at some of those things, just like the way it's looking at the books of previous government. So my position is that Niger Deltans, those that believe in the development of this region, must continue to question what is happening in the NDDC, in the amnesty program, of course, across the region, including state governments, and demand that there should be accountability and transparency in the governance of our affairs.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. And going back to still the NDDC, and what is your advice to the management of NDDC and the federal government?
Well, I do not have any advice for the sole administrator. My own advice, or if at all I want to give him any advice, is to ask him to throw the part of honor, which is to resign, because he has no business being there. What he's doing there is anti the Niger Delta interest. And of course, there's a record of somebody who did the same thing and was disgraced out, and that's Joy Nonel. Joy Nonel was supposed to be a member of the Okumamba board, but she decided to switch camp to Akpabio, and she was disgraced out. And of course, the record of her public altercation with Akpabio is in the public domain for everybody to see. So his case may not be different. If he loves this region, if he wants prosperity to judge him well, he should resign his appointment as acting managing director of NDDC on the basis that the Niger Delta people have rejected him and that a substantive board should be inaugurated. When a substantive board is inaugurated, then as stakeholders we can sit down and advise the substantive board on how the region can be developed. I do not believe that any interim managing director can develop the Niger Delta region.
Okay, as the past president, we've seen that there are a lot of division within this short period in the Joy Youth Council, and talking about some fighting against themselves. And what will you advise this new body, new executive of the Joy Youth Council?
Well, my advice has always been that they must have the interests of the Asian people above any other interest at all times. But again, I do not regard disagreement over position on issues as a sign of disunity. My own disposition is that at every point in time in the life of people, there is always a struggle between forces of darkness and forces of light. So, unfortunately, in the Nigerian society of today, we're in a system whereby even if you have a man raping a woman in broad daylight, that rapist will have supporters. So, even the worst decision on earth will have people who will support it. But those that are saying, look, what is happening in the NDDC or any other organization that has to do with us is not proper, the proper thing to be done. They represent the forces of light, and they must not allow forces of darkness to prevail. So contention over this should be the position, and others say no, it shouldn't be so. I don't regard this as act of a disunity, but it's a constant struggle between the forces of light and the forces of darkness. And of course, at the end of the day, the forces of light will prevail over forces of darkness. And I urge those IYC members who are standing on the part of rule of law, who are standing on the part of morality, to stand their ground, irrespective of the temporary challenges that they face. Go and pass through that joining before. Okay, thank you very much. Today is a birthday, and I know you want to pass a special birthday message to the people of Niger Delta as a way of advice. And what is a birthday message to the people? I am one of those that prefer birthdays to be a private affair, but it's already in the public domain. My advice to our people on the occasion of my birthday, my own very humble advice, is that we're in the era where we must take responsibility for the development of our region. We cannot continue to blame external people for our problems, but we must look inward and agree as a people. And so what can we do to develop our region? Because we don't have any other place to run to. The Niger Delta belongs to all of us. If we develop the Niger Delta, I believe that it will have a ripple effect on other parts of the country, and it is in our collective interest to check our conscience and do what we think that is proper for the development of our region.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
God bless you, sir.
DJM TV. DJM TV.
People are the people don't say no, they don't like us. Welcome to DJM TV.
DJM TV. DJM TV. DJM TV. DJM TV.
Some of the delegates and ask their questions.
DJM TV. DJM TV. DJM TV. DJM TV.